What are the best sourdough books? Whether you are looking to up your own game, find some new recipes, or actually learn about sourdough, or you're looking for a holiday present for somebody, you will love this video. I went through a bunch of sourdough books that I'm aware of, and here's my personal curated selection of sourdough books that has a little bit for everyone, and I'm gonna go into the titles that I chose for this video. The first book I really like is Artisan Sourdough Made Simple by Emil Raffa. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. I know she's another blogger, so I hope I did that. And it is a paperback book. It has 206 pages. They're full color, and what I like about this book is that it's really beginner friendly. It talks about your tools that you need and how to get a sourdough starter going. Obviously, this is always kind of like the picture that we're all looking for. And it has a lot of recipes that don't seem complicated at all. I like the instructions. It's very step by step and it seems really simple. And I think that with a price point of, let me check really quick my notes, $18.34 on Amazon at the time of publishing this video, I think this is actually pretty good. Couple of things that I don't like so much about this book is, first of all, the font is really small. So even with my glasses, I feel like they could have made the font a little bit bigger. And then it's a paperback. Unless you kind of ruin the, what do you call this, the spine of the book, it often doesn't want to lay flat. If you have it in the middle, that's one thing. But if you're cooking something and, well, I guess it stays. But oftentimes paperback books don't stay open, and then either you have to find another book or use a book stand. So those are just my couple of observations about what I don't like so much. Beautiful photography. I highly recommend it. Artisan Sourdough by Emil Raffa. The next one on my list is a really popular title, The Sourdough Whisperer by Elaine Body. I hope I pronounced that right. And here is the same thing. It's another paperback. It really goes into the basics, the how to get a sourdough starter going and how to feed it and how to dry it if you would like to keep it for longer. It has a long, frequently asked questions section about what if this happened and what if I have mold on my sourdough starter and so forth. And beautiful photographs too, very step-by-step, even down to the time, so you can feel out what the kind of schedule you're looking for if you're baking a bread. And it talks about overproofing, underproofing, well-proofed doughs, how to prevent that from happening, either the overproofing or the underproofing. And again, very beautiful photographs. Sometimes I think that because they're trying to fill a book with, this has 190 pages, sometimes the recipes seem a little bit exotic. This is not such a strong case for that. Let me just see. But chickberry, barberry, and lemon pantry loaf, I don't know. I haven't made that recipe, but I feel like that's a little bit exotic. Let me check my notes. This one has 40 recipes and it's $16.69 on Amazon. So this is definitely the cheapest of the bunch. And again, what I don't like is that it often doesn't want to stay open if you're using it in your kitchen, and some of the paragraphs seem really long or a little bit hard to skim. I personally, with a book like this, like it so that I can just open a page and get the information I'm looking for right away, or have a heading. And in this book, I feel like the paragraphs could have broken up a little bit more for some readers that like to just really be able to skim the information. However, highly recommended. Then we have the Homemade Sourdough by Jane Mason. So now we have hard copies here, and This is another book that I really like. Again, fantastic photography. It talks about bread basics, sourdough basics, making your own starters, the terms to know if, you know, so that you understand the lingo that sometimes is used. It starts with batter breads, basically your pancakes, and something that you mix up and you don't need to really develop the gluten structure so much for. And then it goes into bread baking. I do like that they have troubleshooting sections where you can see if you have a hole in the loaf, what happened and how to prevent that from happening. And very good recipes. It has about 43 recipes and some of them are pretty unique. Flavored wheat, sourdough pizza base, mixed grain bread, English muffins. One thing I don't really like so much about this book is the fact that some recipes seem a little bit repetitive. There's 4 or 5 rye recipes that all seem to be a variation of the same basic recipe. So maybe they did that to fill the book a little bit more, and it has 158 pages. And at a price point of $9.49 on Amazon, I don't think you can beat this at all. This is definitely worth it, even if it's not 100% the book you're looking for. I think for under $10, you really can't go wrong. The next one is The Sourdough School by Vanessa Kimball. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when I see the cover of a book and it doesn't really talk to me right away, I often skip it and go to the next one. This would have been one of those. However, I checked this out from my local public library because I have probably checked out all the sourdough titles that they carry there. And I have to say, it's probably, if I had to pick one book out of the books that I'm presenting to you, probably my favorite one. The Groundbreaking Guide to Making Gut-Friendly Bread. It is an older book. Again, photography is stunning. It stays open because it is a hardcover, and it goes really into detail. What is a leaven? When should I make a leaven? Why it is important to use the leaven while it is fresh, and retard methods, and what happens if my bread doesn't turn out well. So it really, I want to say half of the book is about just basics and understanding how to make a sourdough starter and troubleshooting and frequently asked questions. And then we go into the recipe section with a classic white sourdough boule. And then we go on to breads with higher hydration. One of the things I don't like so much about this book is because that some of the recipes are pretty unique and use ingredients that are fairly exotic, and I wanted to give you an example if I can find it. I don't know how easy it is to find spent ale grains. I personally don't know where to get them right now, and there was another one that I thought was pretty smoked kibbled rye. So anyways, it has enough recipes that you can bake with everyday ingredients that are not fancy or exotic. It has 208 pages, 29 something recipes. It costs $20.49, and like I said, highly recommend it. If I had to recommend one book from this whole stack, this is the one that I would recommend. Now we're getting more into the coffee table edition type books. I absolutely love this one, Living Bread by Daniel Leader. I have probably read this book, not really front to cover, but had it on my nightstand and read it before going to bed because there's always something that I find. Having said that, this book is not just about baking. It talks a lot about the history of bread, and it talks about different flours, different milling techniques. It is a bit of an international book in terms of what are different flours called in different countries, Italy, Germany, France versus the US, and it talks about tools that you might want to have. However, it is also geared towards somebody who definitely wants to delve a little bit deeper into sourdough baking because it is very specific. It is down to the gram and almost to the minute, I feel. However, I don't find the recipes overwhelming to look at and to bake by, but it has a lot of recipes, 57 from bakeries from all over the world. So it actually talks about the bakery and talks about the main baker there and the connection and gives a little bit of history. So it's definitely something, not just a cookbook that you want to use in your kitchen. Having said that, it can be a little bit big for some to have in your kitchen while you're baking, but it is definitely very inspirational, and I absolutely love this book. $24.99 on Amazon. I think this is definitely one of those nicer Christmas presents or something that you can give to yourself. The Perfect Loaf by Maurizio Leo is definitely a very, very, very popular book, oftentimes called the Sourdough Bible by the Sourdough Master, and you can never go wrong with this book. However, I find that let me talk about the good things before I talk about what I don't like so much about it. Beautiful photography, very inspiring, very detailed. It starts with all the ingredients, freshly milled flour, what to do, how to make it, how to use it, tools you might want to have in your kitchen, and making your first sourdough loaf, making a sourdough starter, how to get that all going, all about sourdough starter discard. So it really has a lot of basics here in the beginning. It shows all the step-by-step instructions with photos, and you even get cute little QR codes, which I think is very 21st century. And it is a big, heavy book, really well done, lots of recipes. I tried to count them, but there are so many recipes, too many to count, and I couldn't find the recipe count anywhere, but there's a lot of recipes here that you can bake. And with a price point of $30.99 on Amazon at the time of publishing this video, it is definitely the most expensive of the bunch. However, I feel it's absolutely 100% worth it. A couple of things that I don't like so much is, first of all, yes, it is a little bit more expensive, and it is a little bit big for many home kitchens. You may not have a lot of space there. And I do find that if you're just starting out with sourdough, you can easily feel overwhelmed with all the instructions. When you look at the recipes, for example, this one, the Mediterranean olive and rosemary bread, it gives you the levain, and then you have to read this section, and then it talks about vitals, it talks about the total formula. And while that is all very scientific and all very accurate and detailed, I think for somebody just starting out and not being very the kind of person that needs specific detailed information, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It would be for me. And then it goes on into the next ingredients here for the levain and the autolyse, and then you got to understand what autolyse is and how to mix it. So there's a lot of steps. The breads are fantastic. The recipes are outstanding. But I would say if you're looking for a beginner recipe book, I would go with one of the earlier books that I showed you. However, I do recommend it. Now I have two books that aren't necessarily how-to recipe books or teaching you how to make a sourdough starter, but I feel like they're absolutely worth including in my list of sourdough books. And the first one is 6,000 Years of Bread. I can remember the title until I finished it, by H.E. Jacobs. It's an older book. I think it was written in 1944. It is a very scholarly written, very detailed, very nice book about the history of bread, its holy and unholy history, and it gives you a little nod right here that it talks about bread in the context of biblical stories and Christianity. So that's definitely a very strong thread in this book. It has many illustrations, sometimes old ones from centuries ago, so it is very interesting that way. However, it is more of a read. It definitely is something for somebody who loves to read, who loves to get into a subject, and you can tell it's been written in 1944. The language can sometimes be a little bit lengthy. However, I do find it very interesting, and I don't think you need to really read the book from front to back. You can also just go through chapters and pick out what you want, and I find that a very worthwhile book for my library. Doesn't have any recipes, and $14.95 on Amazon at the time of publishing this video. And then actually my second favorite of all the list, if I had to pick two books, it would be The Sourdough School and Sourdough Culture by Eric Pallant. Now, it does have some recipes, however, and I don't want to spoil anything here. The premise of this book is that the author was given a sourdough starter supposedly 150 years old, and he goes into the history of the sourdough starter with the quest of finding out whether he can actually trace the sourdough starter back to its origins and can prove that it is in fact 150 years old. I won't tell you what he finds, because then this book may not be quite as interesting, so I don't want to spoil it for you. But what I love about this book is the writing style. It is an absolutely easy, fantastic, entertaining read. The author really is a very good writer. It does have photographs and illustrations, historic illustrations, and it does have some recipes. So you can actually go in here. I think it even has the tartine. Let's see if I can find it. Tartine. Yes, Chad Robertson's tartine country bread in here. So it has a little bit of everything, and I absolutely 100% love this book. Recommend it. $20.49 on Amazon at the time of publishing this video. So here is something that for anybody who loves to read would just be an absolute joy. I know that there's a lot of books that are fantastic that I haven't talked about. However, I am leaving a link in the description box to my blog post where you can find more information about all these books and all the links. I have another video right here with other cookbooks that I recommend. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.